On the morning of June 12, 1996, the stillness of Blackwood Creek was briefly disturbed by a telephone call to the local police department. Robert Voss, his voice betraying a mix of annoyance and resignation, reported his 19-year-old daughter, Emily Voss, missing from their suburban residence on Elmwood Drive. His wife, Susan Voss, was on an extension line, her distress more evident than her husband's. Emily had not been seen since late the previous evening, following what her parents described as a typical teenage argument. Robert Voss conveyed a dismissive confidence to the dispatcher. He suggested that Emily was likely enacting what he termed teenage dramatics, implying a pattern of similar behavior. He told the officer that Emily had a history of leaving the house after disagreements, often returning within a day or two without explanation. He mentioned a recent dispute over her college plans and her late hours, portraying it as a common source of tension between them. Susan Voss, while visibly distraught and requesting immediate assistance, deferred to her husband's assessment of Emily's temperament. She confirmed the argument and Emily's occasional impulsiveness, though her tone carried a deeper undercurrent of worry that her husband seemed to overlook. The initial report, logged as case number 96-0612-001, reflected the parents' combined perspective, a 19-year-old female, believed to be a runaway following a domestic dispute. The Blackwood Creek Police Department, accustomed to such calls in a town where more significant crimes were rare, processed the information with standard procedure. Given Emily's age, the customary waiting period for a missing persons report was circumvented, but the case was initially categorized with a low priority, based largely on Robert Voss's assurance that Emily would reappear shortly. This initial classification would later prove to be a critical misjudgment, obscuring the true nature of Emily's disappearance from the outset. The following morning on June 12, 1996, Detective Raymond Harding of the Blackwood Creek Police Department was assigned to case number 96-0612-001. Harding, a veteran investigator with 18 years on the force, reviewed the initial report, noting the low priority classification based primarily on Robert Voss's assurances. This categorization, he felt, was premature for a missing 19-year-old. Upon his arrival at the Voss residence on Elmwood Drive, Detective Harding conducted a methodical preliminary sweep of the property. The house showed no obvious signs of forced entry or any indication of a struggle. He spoke with Robert and Susan Voss, listening intently to their account of Emily's argument and her reported history of leaving home. Their narrative continued to present Emily as a young woman prone to impulsive acts, especially after disagreements. However, as Detective Harding proceeded to Emily's bedroom, his observations began to diverge significantly from the parents' assessment. The room, a space one might expect to reflect the chaos or quick departure of a runaway teenager, was remarkably neat. Clothes remained folded in the dresser drawers, and a neatly arranged wardrobe held her entire collection of garments. Her bed was made with precision, and school books were stacked tidily on her desk. There were no scattered belongings, no half-packed bags, and no hastily scribbled notes indicating a sudden, emotional flight. A small, carefully arranged collection of personal mementos sat undisturbed on a shelf above her desk. The pristine condition of the room suggested an occupant who had not departed in haste or anger. This meticulous order contrasted sharply with the parents' description of a spontaneous runaway. Detective Harding documented these discrepancies, recognizing them as the first significant questions regarding the true circumstances of Emily Voss's vanishing. The absence of typical runaway indicators in her personal space suggested a more complex scenario. Detective Harding completed his review of the wardrobe and dresser, finding nothing amiss, no hidden notes, no packed bags, and no personal items missing that would suggest a planned departure. He then turned his attention to Emily's nightstand, a modest piece of furniture beside her bed. On its surface, a lamp, an alarm clock, and a stack of 3 magazines lay undisturbed. Beneath the bottom magazine, partially obscured by the edge of the nightstand, he noticed a small, faded photograph. He carefully picked up the image. It was a standard 4x6 print, slightly worn at the edges. The photograph depicted Emily Voss smiling, standing between a man and a woman who appeared to be in their late 30s or early 40s. Two young children, a boy and a girl, stood in front of them, also smiling. All five individuals were positioned in front of a strikingly idyllic two-story house, complete with a manicured lawn and a white picket fence. The setting was unfamiliar to Detective Harding. It was not a location he recognized within Blackwood Creek or the surrounding communities. Neither the family nor the house registered any immediate familiarity. This single piece of evidence immediately altered the trajectory of the investigation. The image contradicted the parents' assertion that Emily was merely a runaway. The presence of an unknown family and an unfamiliar residence introduced a significant, unforeseen element. This was not the portrait of a teenager impulsively fleeing an argument. This was a snapshot connecting Emily Voss to a life, or at least an association, unknown to her parents and until that moment, unknown to the Blackwood Creek Police Department. The photograph suggested a deeper, more complex narrative, pointing towards an intentional connection with unknown individuals in an unidentified location. Detective Harding secured the photograph in an evidence bag, designating it Case Exhibit A. The questions surrounding Emily's disappearance had just intensified considerably. Following the discovery of Case Exhibit A, Detective Harding immediately redirected the Blackwood Creek Police Department's investigative resources. His primary directive was clear: identify the house depicted in the photograph. Patrol officers and departmental clerks were tasked with a meticulous examination of local property records. They combed through every deed, every zoning map, and every archived architectural blueprint within Blackwood Creek's municipal limits. The distinctive gabled roof, the dormer windows, and the specific arrangement of the stone facade, clearly visible in the faded print, were the key identifying features. Hours turned into a full day as the search continued without success. No address, no property owner, and no construction permit in Blackwood Creek matched the structure in the photograph. The lack of any local record immediately raised the first significant red flag in the investigation. The geographical scope was quickly expanded. Detectives contacted sheriff's departments and municipal planning offices in neighboring counties, extending their inquiry across a 50-mile radius from Emily Voss's home. Detailed descriptions and fax copies of the photograph were disseminated to every relevant agency within that expanded zone. Despite this concerted, multi-agency effort, the outcome remained consistent across all jurisdictions by the late afternoon. The house in the photograph, with its specific architectural details and its seemingly idyllic setting, appeared to have no official record of existence. It was not on any surveyed plot of land, nor was it present in any known photographic or architectural catalog in any of the areas searched. This complete absence of a verifiable footprint immediately elevated the mystery surrounding Emily's disappearance. The photograph, initially a crucial lead, now presented a profound and unsettling anomaly for the investigators of case number 96-0612-001. Concurrent with the intensive property search, another critical investigative avenue was pursued within the Blackwood Creek Police Department. A specialized team working in a secured digital forensics lab began a deep dive into Emily Voss's personal effects. Her bedroom, though tidy, yielded a desktop computer and several handwritten journals. These items, now designated as Case Exhibits B through G, were meticulously analyzed for any clues regarding her recent activities or acquaintances. Within the digital files and the pages of her journals, a consistent and increasingly prominent theme emerged: Emily's profound fascination with a family she consistently referred to as the Alders. Her entries were not merely observational. They detailed an idealized, almost romanticized vision of their purported lifestyle. Emily wrote of their off-grid existence, their self-sufficiency, and a perceived harmony with nature. These journals, combined with her early digital communications recovered from her computer, painted a picture of a young woman deeply drawn into the narrative of this unknown family. The sheer volume of her writings and digital interactions concerning the Alders indicated that this was not a fleeting interest, but rather a significant, absorbing focus of her life in the months leading up to her disappearance. The emotional intensity conveyed in her words suggested a deep personal connection, almost an aspiration to join this idyllic world she described. This discovery initiated a parallel investigation thread, identifying the true nature of the Alders and their relationship to Emily Voss. Their name, now a recurring keyword, became central to understanding Emily's final weeks in Blackwood Creek. The two parallel investigative threads, initially distinct, began to converge in Detective Harding's mind. The comprehensive search for the picturesque dwelling featured in Case Exhibit A had yielded no results, confirming its absence from all official property records within a 75-mile radius of Blackwood Creek, and no architectural plans existed in any municipal archive. Simultaneously, the digital forensics team had compiled a detailed dossier from Emily Voss's computer and journals, outlining her deep absorption in the lives of the Alders and idealized, self-sufficient family she described as living off-grid. Her fascination with their purported existence was extensive, chronicled in hundreds of pages of personal reflections and copied digital images. The convergence of these two findings presented a profound and perplexing anomaly to investigators. Detective Harding now faced an unsettling possibility. The house, meticulously depicted in the photograph, and the Alder family, so vibrantly chronicled in Emily's private writings, were perhaps not independent mysteries. Instead, it strongly suggested they might be components of a singular, intricately constructed fabrication. The absence of any verifiable existence for the distinctive dwelling, coupled with the elusive nature of its purported residents, painted a picture of a reality carefully curated, existing not in the physical world but within a digital or imagined construct. This profound lack of verifiable information for either the dwelling or its supposed inhabitants would become the immediate focus of Detective Harding's next steps. The perplexing nature of this digital ghost required a new investigative approach, one that moved beyond physical searches and into the complex, less tangible realm of online identity. The immediate objective was no longer to locate a missing house or a missing family, but to understand the architect behind this convincing illusion. Who had created this world, and what was their connection to Emily Voss? With the house in Case Exhibit A confirmed as having no official record of existence, Detective Raymond Harding shifted the immediate focus of case number 96-0612-001. The investigation now centered intently on identifying the so-called Alder family. Emily Voss's personal journals, meticulously kept in spiral-bound notebooks and now cataloged as Case Exhibits C and D, proved invaluable. Within their pages, Emily had lovingly detailed the lives of the family she so admired. She provided specific names: Elias, whom she described as the stoic, resourceful father; Clara, the nurturing, artistic mother; and their two children, Leo, the adventurous older brother, and Daisy, the curious younger sister. These names became the immediate targets for comprehensive database searches conducted by the Blackwood Creek Police Department. Detectives initiated queries across all available local and state registries. They searched for birth certificates, school enrollment records, property deeds, utility accounts, and driver's licenses. Every official channel that might register a family unit residing in Blackwood Creek, or indeed anywhere within the broader state of Oakhaven, was systematically scoured. The search extended to tax records, Social Security Administration files, and any reported changes of address or residential permits. The results, however, were consistent and stark. There were no birth records for a Leo or Daisy Alder. No marriage certificate registered for an Elias and Clara Alder. No property tax records, no voter registrations, no utility hookups, and no social security numbers associated with these specific names, nor any variations thereof. The silence from the official databases was absolute, a void where any trace of a family should have been. It suggested that, at least under these names, the Alder family did not exist within any recognized governmental or civic system. This immediate investigative hurdle deepened Detective Harding's suspicion that the Alder family was not merely elusive, but entirely fabricated, much like the idyllic house Emily had envisioned. The next steps would require broadening the search beyond state lines, considering the possibility of an even more elaborate deception. The investigative scope quickly expanded beyond local and state boundaries. Following the failure to locate any official records within Oakhaven, Detective Harding authorized a comprehensive nationwide search for the Alder family. Detectives systematically ran the names Elias, Clara, Leo, and Daisy Alder through national birth registries, school enrollment systems, and employment records across all 50 states. They contacted federal agencies, including the Social Security Administration and the Department of Homeland Security, cross-referencing their extensive databases for Social Security numbers, passport applications, or any form of government identification. The investigative team also checked for property deeds, financial transactions, and any recorded residential addresses under these names in every available public record nationwide. Despite these exhaustive efforts, the outcome remained consistently negative. There was no official Elias Alder, no Clara, no Leo, and no Daisy recorded anywhere within the official fabric of the United States. Their digital existence on Emily's computer seemed to be their only one, an unprecedented finding for Harding's team. Concurrently, Detective Harding's team initiated interviews with Emily Voss's closest friends. Sarah Jenkins, a high school classmate, and Michael Roth, a co-worker from the local bookstore, both provided consistent and corroborating testimony. They recounted Emily's growing enthusiasm for an ideal, self-sufficient family unit living entirely off-grid. Emily had described the Alders with an almost reverent admiration, detailing their homesteading skills, their commitment to sustainable living, and their seemingly perfect family dynamic. She frequently mentioned meeting them through obscure online forums dedicated to homesteading and alternative lifestyles, where she had initially found a sense of belonging and intellectual kinship. Her friends noted that Emily had become increasingly preoccupied with these online interactions over the previous 6 months. Often speaking of the Alders as a future she deeply desired to emulate. The complete absence of any official records for such a meticulously described family only amplified the investigative team's concern regarding Emily's vulnerability and the true nature of her online connections. The complete absence of any official records for the Alder family was unprecedented in Detective Harding's experience within the Blackwood Creek Police Department. It was not merely a case of an unlisted family, a group living entirely off the grid and eschewing all modern conveniences, which in itself would present significant challenges. Instead, it was the profound and absolute lack of any discernible digital or physical footprint whatsoever. No birth certificates, no school records, no medical histories, no driver's licenses. No tax filings, no credit reports, and no property deeds. Even individuals deliberately attempting to erase their presence usually left some faint trace within the vast interconnected systems of government and finance. The Alders had left none. This profound lack of evidence presented investigators with several unsettling possibilities concerning case number 96-0612-001. Detective Harding theorized that Emily Voss was likely the target of a sophisticated online deception. This deception would have been meticulously crafted by an individual or a group, not merely to lure her away, but to build an entire fabricated reality around her desires. Could this be a form of cult recruitment, exploiting vulnerable young people through an idealized online narrative of self-sufficiency and community? The consistent descriptions from Emily's friends about her fascination with the Alders' perfect life supported this theory. Alternatively, Harding considered a complex form of psychological manipulation, where the very concept of the Alders, their idyllic home, and their aspirational lifestyle, was specifically designed to exploit Emily's idealism and her deep-seated desire for connection and purpose. This scenario suggested an individual with a profound understanding of human psychology, capable of constructing a compelling fantasy world purely for the purpose of controlling another. The investigators now faced a phantom family, a meticulously constructed illusion that had seemingly ensnared a 19-year-old girl, leading her into an unknown, dangerous reality. The case had shifted definitively from a missing person report to an urgent search for the architect of this elaborate shadow world and the true, sinister purpose behind its creation. The digital realm, once seen as a tool for connection, had become a labyrinth, hiding a potential predator. The Blackwood Creek Police Department quickly shifted its focus. With the physical search for Emily Voss yielding no results and the Alder family proving entirely non-existent, investigators turned their attention to Emily's digital footprint. On June 15, 1996, a forensic examination commenced on Emily Voss's personal computer, located in her bedroom. and a public access terminal she routinely used at the Blackwood Creek Public Library. Detective Harding believed the key to her disappearance lay within the digital realm, specifically in how she encountered and interacted with the Alder family. Within 48 hours of commencing the forensic sweep, the digital forensics team made a significant discovery. Buried deep within the hard drive of Emily's home computer were multiple instances of highly specialized architectural design software. This was considered highly unusual for a 19-year-old with no declared interest in engineering or design. Alongside these complex programs, investigators uncovered an extensive trove of intricate rendering files and three-dimensional digital models. These files were meticulously detailed, depicting interior layouts, exterior landscaping, and varying lighting conditions, all rendered with a professional level of precision. The content of these digital artifacts was immediately recognizable to Detective Harding and his team. The primary subject of these sophisticated computer-generated images was the idyllic two-story farmhouse depicted in Case Exhibit A, the very Alder house that had no recorded physical presence in any property database. This conclusive evidence demonstrated that the Alder house was not a physical dwelling, nor was it merely a conceptual drawing. It was a meticulously crafted three-dimensional computer model, existing solely in the digital space. This revelation solidified Detective Harding's theory of a sophisticated digital deception targeting Emily Voss. It confirmed that the entire world she had described, the house she had longed for, existed only as code and pixels, a convincing illusion built by an unknown party. The next critical step was to identify the architect behind this elaborate shadow world. With the Alder house definitively identified as a digital construct, the focus of the forensic examination shifted from the content of Emily's computer to the very tools used to create such intricate models. Investigators meticulously analyzed the specialized architectural design software found on her hard drive, searching for any embedded metadata, authorial signatures, or unique registration identifiers that might point to its origin. This process was painstaking, involving deep dives into code structures and licensing agreements, far beyond the typical scope of a missing persons inquiry. The persistence of the digital forensics team ultimately yielded a critical breakthrough. Embedded within the core programming of one of the specialized rendering applications was a unique software registration key. This alphanumeric sequence, not openly visible to a casual user, served as a digital fingerprint, specifically identifying the licensed owner of that particular software instance. Concurrent analysis of Emily's network activity logs, cross-referenced with the timestamps of the meticulously crafted rendering files, revealed a specific Internet Protocol address that frequently interacted with the software's licensing server during the precise periods when new Alder house models were being generated. This IP address, a unique string of numbers identifying a device on a network, became the first tangible lead to the architect of Emily's elaborate digital world. Detectives from the Blackwood Creek Police Department, collaborating with state cybercrime units, worked to de-anonymize the traced Internet Protocol address. The digital trail led them through several routing servers and service providers before finally pinpointing a residential Internet service provider account registered to one Arthur Finch. Finch was identified as a 49-year-old architectural visualization artist, a professional in the very niche field of creating highly realistic digital renderings of unbuilt structures for clients. His public records indicated a history of freelance work for various development firms across the region, though his more recent professional activity had appeared to dwindle significantly. Property records associated with Arthur Finch's name led investigators 70 miles due north of Blackwood Creek to a remote, single-story cabin nestled deep within the dense Willow Creek wilderness. The journey to this isolated location began immediately, marking a new and critical phase of the investigation into Emily Voss's disappearance. The same forensic examination that meticulously deconstructed the Alder house also turned its focus to the individuals depicted in the photograph designated Case Exhibit A. Investigators working with specialized digital forensics teams confirmed that the Alder family members, Elias, Clara, Leo, and Daisy, were not genuine individuals captured in a single, unedited moment. Instead, they were sophisticated digital composites. Arthur Finch had meticulously constructed each family member's image using a combination of manipulated stock photographs, subtly altered to obscure their original sources, and nascent artificial intelligence-generated imagery. This advanced specialized software allowed Finch to blend disparate facial features, body types, and environmental elements into cohesive, lifelike portraits that could deceive the human eye. The technique ensured that no single, verifiable source image existed for any of the Alder family members in their depicted forms, explaining the complete absence of official records for them across any database. This revelation confirmed Arthur Finch not only as the creator of the illusionary Alder house, but as the singular architect of Emily Voss's entire digital labyrinth. He had engineered not just a dream home, but a dream family, populating Emily's online world with fabricated relationships and an entirely non-existent life. With this evidence firmly establishing Finch as the orchestrator of the elaborate deception, and given Emily Voss's continued disappearance, Arthur Finch was formally designated as the primary suspect in her case. The Blackwood Creek Police Department, operating in immediate conjunction with state authorities and specialized tactical units, began preparations to execute a comprehensive search warrant on Finch's remote cabin in the Willow Creek wilderness, anticipating the culmination of a deeply unsettling investigation. On the morning of June 18, 1996, a tactical unit from the Blackwood Creek Police Department, augmented by state patrol officers, converged on Arthur Finch's secluded cabin. The property was situated deep within the Willow Creek wilderness, accessible only by a narrow, unpaved track that terminated at a small clearing. Finch was apprehended without incident. He was found alone inside the rustic structure, offering no resistance as officers secured the premises. His demeanor remained largely impassive throughout the initial processing. The initial sweep of the cabin revealed a Spartan interior, consistent with a reclusive individual. Investigators documented a single, well-maintained computer workstation, a narrow cot, and a small, functional kitchen area. The desk held several stacks of architectural design magazines and a few technical manuals for rendering software. There were no personal effects that immediately suggested a link to Emily Voss. No photographs of the Alder family were displayed, nor any physical journals detailing their fabricated life. The cabin's primary living space offered no overt architectural renderings of the idyllic Alder house, beyond the digital files previously identified on Finch's seized computers. However, as Detective Raymond Harding supervised the methodical search, a significant structural anomaly became apparent. A section of the cabin's western wall, roughly 10 feet in length and 8 feet high, exhibited a construction distinctly different from the rest of the dwelling. Unlike the rough-hewn timber and exposed beams characteristic of the primary living space, this segment was smooth, heavily insulated, and acoustically treated. It lacked any windows or external access points, presenting itself as an internal, self-contained chamber. The deliberate concealment was evident in the seamless way the wall met the ceiling and floor, lacking the usual construction joints or visible seams. The surface material was a light-colored, painted drywall, contrasting sharply with the raw wood of the surrounding cabin. Upon closer inspection, the wall registered as unusually thick to the touch, and a percussive test produced a deadened thud, indicative of extensive soundproofing. The implication was clear to Harding. This was not merely an ordinary room or storage area. It indicated a space designed for isolation, a hidden compartment within the seemingly simple cabin, suggesting a clandestine purpose that warranted immediate, closer examination by specialized equipment. The specialized equipment requested by Detective Harding arrived at the Willow Creek Wilderness Cabin by early afternoon. A team from the State Forensic Engineering Unit utilized ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging to confirm the hidden chamber's precise dimensions and internal structure. The scans revealed a dense, irregular mass consistent with a human body within the heavily insulated section. At approximately 1:15 p.m., a hydraulic breaching tool was employed to carefully cut through the reinforced drywall and several layers of soundproofing material. The initial breach revealed not a simple void, but a meticulously constructed interior space, a profound departure from the rustic logging cabin aesthetic. Instead, investigators stepped into a room that immediately struck them as profoundly familiar, a physical, three-dimensional rendering of the Alder house's main living area. The walls were painted a soft, calming cream. A faux fireplace, complete with a neatly stacked pile of artificial logs and a decorative mantelpiece, dominated one wall. Carefully chosen, understated furniture, a simple sofa upholstered in muted green, a polished wooden coffee table, and two armchairs were arranged precisely as they had appeared in Finch's digital models. Small, framed landscape prints adorned the walls, and a hand-knitted throw blanket was draped over the arm of the sofa. Every detail, from the patterned rug to the ceramic pot holding silk flowers, suggested an attempt to replicate the idyllic, domestic serenity Emily Voss had described in her journals. Forensic technicians systematically processed the room, carefully documenting each item before removal. Their meticulous search led them to a section of wall adjacent to the faux fireplace. Behind what appeared to be a built-in bookshelf, a cleverly disguised panel was discovered. Once opened, it revealed a smaller, concealed compartment. Within this confined space, tucked beneath a layer of fresh topsoil and peat moss, forensic teams located skeletal human remains. Dental records obtained from Emily's childhood dentist provided a definitive match within hours. It was Emily Voss. Preliminary forensic analysis indicated her death occurred approximately 4 to 5 months prior to discovery, placing her last moments sometime in late January or early February of 1996. The advanced decomposition of the remains, coupled with the soundproofed, isolated nature of the room, strongly suggested a period of extended captivity within Finch's carefully fabricated reality. During subsequent interrogations conducted by Detective Harding and his team at the Blackwood Creek Police Department, Arthur Finch spoke with an unnerving detachment. He systematically detailed the intricate deception, admitting to the creation of the entire Alder family and their idyllic online existence. Finch described constructing the digital Alder house as a meticulous architectural visualization project, initially an exercise in virtual design. He explained that Emily Voss, through her extensive online interactions and heartfelt journal entries, represented the precise candidate to inhabit his perfectly designed reality. His motivations, as articulated during these sessions, painted a chilling psychological portrait. Finch expressed a profound desire to populate his meticulously crafted world with what he considered an ideal family. He viewed Emily's online yearning for connection and belonging as the perfect entry point. The Alder family, therefore, was not merely a lure, but a complex psychological trap, designed to draw Emily into a controlled environment where she would fulfill his vision of domestic perfection. Finch confessed that once Emily arrived at his remote cabin in the Willow Creek wilderness, sometime in late 1995, his fabricated reality became her physical prison. The grim confirmation of Emily's death was delivered to Robert and Susan Voss on the evening of June 18th. Detective Harding, accompanied by a victim services advocate, provided the agonizing details with a somber resolve. The Voss family received the news with profound anguish, their deepest fears realized in the stark, irrefutable evidence of the forensic report. Susan Voss collapsed upon hearing the information, while Robert Voss sat in stunned silence, the weight of the revelation settling upon him. For Detective Harding, the formal closure of the missing persons case initiated the full intensity of a homicide investigation. He reflected on the profound human cost of a premeditated deception woven entirely from digital threads. The case file, now expanding with the grim details of captivity and murder, served as a stark reminder of a new kind of labyrinth, one constructed not of stone and mortar, but of shadows and pixels, ultimately consuming a young life in its meticulously designed interior.